You alright, Baz? You alright, Nikki? Nice to see you. Yeah, thanks, Baz. I think I might have had a bit of the capture sound then in with the intro. Yeah, I think you need your life jacket for this one, Baz. To be honest, you could probably do with a lifeboat rather than just a life jacket. You alright, Governor? So we're just watching Wabbit go around. This is a multi-class race for those that aren't aware, but I presume everyone here so far does know that. We've got the Group 1 and the Group 3. And we've got a barking dog as well. Hopefully we won't get too much of that. Yeah, I think you need more than just your flippers and snorkel for this one. It was supposed to be heavy rain, but it wasn't quite heavy enough, so it has been upped in the last couple of days, I think, to be slightly heavier at the start of the race. Go on board with someone else, what car some other people in. The Clarkie rocking a nice, presuming that's a Gaz livery by the looks of it. And just to warn folks, there might be a slight delay to the start today. It's not confirmed yet, but there might be a slight delay for people to get into the lobby. Well, that was a good time to go to Nick as he disappears off the screen. He's in a Group C car as he gets in the way of Wacky there. He's struggling to even get back going there, Nick. So that shows how wet it is. Maybe the Group C car was not the way to go in the Group 1 category. I'm guessing most of the Group 1 guys will be in the Porsche. Yeah, as Nick decides to give up on that. Corvette for Jaeger. What's DTR cars got? That's the Porsche Group 1, I believe. Yeah, he has, Baz, hasn't he? I mean, his driving's already showing what a bad decision he's made. I wonder if he'll have a quick change of heart at before the race starts, but I think he might commit to it. What's Jibril in then? Because that's not the same Group 1, is it? Who were we looking at in the Group 1 before? Ian won it. Or is that the GR10 Toyota, is it, that DTR cars is in, I believe? Yeah, DTR's just confirmed that for us. So he's being brave with that choice as well. Very fast down the straight, but could be a handful in the rain through the corners, as he's showing us there. Heat Seeker in the Porsche though. Presuming that'll be a Heat Seeker livery, since it's Heat Seeker driving. And he decides to crash in a straight line for us, showing us just how wet it is. Obviously a bit easier with this being the no chicane version of the track. I mean, I think he just wanted to see if he did have a crash whether he could recover. So he's going for the full 180, 360, and to be honest, he might have gone all the way to 720 with that one. Oh, and that's a brave choice from little Nicky there. In the Ford GT in this weather could possibly be a handful. And if this is how bad the rain is in the race, we're definitely going to see people starting on the wet tyres. So it'll be interesting to see whether people go from wets to winters or whether they stay on wets for longer. So it could create a bit of strategy there. Yeah, I don't know if he just couldn't handle it or if he's got the stream on and knew he was on stream and did it deliberately, because he did decide to go back and forth, so, you know, side to side down the straight and then spin, so he might have been doing it for our entertainment there. But if it is that way, that they're struggling in the straights, then it could be an exciting race with lots of action. Yeah, Baz, I think Porsche is probably going to be what majority of the Group 1 people are in, but obviously there's always going to be nutters like Nick. Here he is in his old Nissan Group C. And he's cut that corner. Let's see if he can get through this corner without spinning. Just about. But he's going to start the lap with a penalty. Let's stay on board with Nick then and see how long it takes him to spin. Well, he's got round Dunlop curve and through the first chicanes. Okay. Let's see how well he does getting onto the Mulsanne straight now then, as he has a little bit of a wiggle there. As Wabbit jumps out his way into the barrier there. This is where he'll make advantage though, because this is the no chicane version of the track, so that Group C car will have a huge advantage at this part of the track, I imagine. Looks like we might have a 10-minute delay before quali starts, so it was supposed to start at 8 o'clock, but it's looking like quali will be starting at 8:10, and then we'll have someone that's not quite able to get in the lobby being able to join after qualifying and start at the back of the grid. As Nick's doing a fairly good job there keeping this car in check, but an hour and a half of keeping the car in check, and I think the rain might be coming down for a large period of the race, so it could, obviously its advantage will be when it dries up more so. So Jibril in the Porsche, I believe there. We've got Ryan Clark in the Supra. Wacky. Now which one's, that's the Audi, isn't it? That's the Audi R18. So he has gone for a slightly, so we have got a bit more variety than I maybe expected in the Group 1 category. And then we've got Nutcase Nick in the old Nissan. Heat Seeker in the Porsche. Matt Jam in the Supra. So we've got 2 Supras already in Group 3. Madman Little Nicky going in the Ford GT. And I believe that is a Heat Seeker livery on that. Roses, that'll be the Porsche, won't it? So most choosing the Porsche, which was expected. As I believe DTR Cars has changed there. I believe that is now the Porsche that he is in as well. Kingy is in the Porsche, Wabbit in the Jag, and Jaeger in the Corvette. It looks like we're missing a couple of the GT3 guys at the moment. We should have about 6 minutes to go now before quali will get underway. But it looks like there might be some people having connection issues as well. PlayStation and GT7 problems. Got some nice liveries on display as well. Every time I seem to go on board with someone at the moment, they're always coming down the Mulsanne. So the GR10's second fastest car behind the Group C. You mean just in a straight line, or do you mean in actual lap time on a clear lap? Because I know obviously down the straight they're both very, very quick. Without the chicanes, I would guess that maybe they edge the lap just in dry conditions. But I don't know if they'll edge the track in wet conditions. I think they'll lose too much time through the likes of the Porsche curves. Yeah, top speed. Yeah, that's what I was thinking you meant. It is very close, I think, with the no chicane version as to overall lap time. But obviously the lap time's all in totally different places on the track. And obviously in these conditions, the first aim is to keep the car on the track. As Wacky goes wide and off the track there then. So Jibrill's set a time much faster than anybody else at the moment. That's not the Porsche actually, is it? So I'm not as good as the differences with the Group 1s because they all look so similar. So if anyone knows, let me know what car that is Jibrill's in. I don't think it looks like one of the Toyotas. So I'm presuming maybe it's the Peugeot, is it? Yeah, is it the Peugeot then, DTR? Thanks for that, mate. I know obviously the nose is normally, the nose or the wing is normally the way to tell the difference, but I don't know him well enough to know. I can see the difference, but I don't know what car's which one. So we have got a little bit of variety. Are you sticking to that GR10 DTR, or are you changing into the Porsche as we saw you go around in the Porsche as well? GR10. Well, one good thing, you should be the highest finisher in a GR10, so that's one positive to take from the race. But hopefully you can make the most of that top end speed and keep the car on the track through the tricky sections. as we saw Nick absolutely fly by Wacky there, showing that straight line speed difference. As we see in the practice, it looks like a dry line is appearing and the rain might possibly be starting to stop. So people getting a bit of practice now in what I think would be considered intermediate conditions, but sort of in between the two. So I believe qualifying will be starting soon. Just a few little things to sort out, I believe. But we will be getting underway as soon as possible now. I wonder if Matt Jam's maybe made that livery on his own. With the big Race Asylum triangles all over it. As it doesn't look like a style of Heatseeker or Gaz, who tend to be the normal livery makers. I know Gecko sometimes makes some, but generally for himself. So I'm going to guess that's a self-made one by Matt Jam there. As we see the top speed of that GR10 now. Yeah, it still looks like, I'm sure Nick was going like 230, so it's still a fair way off the top speed of that Group C car. Weather appears to have dried up fairly quickly in this practice, considering, well, still coming up to 25 minutes since it was started, so maybe that'll be around the time in the race we're looking at strategies coming into play as DTR takes a spin there. Just struggling to get that power down. As we see Heatseeker spinning as well. And it looks like Nick might pick up a lot of penalties. Or he certainly is in the practice anyway. Hey Ray, everything ready to go soon? Yeah, King Ears just said everybody ready, so presuming that's us ready to go anytime soon. And if those that have struggled to get on in time can jump on, I'm presuming we'll be able to add them to the back of the grid for the start of the race after quali. Yeah, looks like we're about to start the qualifying now then. As it does look like there's a very dry line now. So who's going to be the first one to go out the pits? I think, to be honest, you probably don't want to be at the front of the group in this weather. And obviously if you're a GT3, you probably just want to get out the way. Let's see if we can get to whoever's at the front of the pack. And oh, there we go, we do have cockpit viewing. Mustn't be a cockpit view in that car. Who's at the front then? It looks like Wacky is at the front. So we'll stay on board with Wacky for a bit, as I'm presuming everybody will be on the wet tyres for the qualifying, which I believe is 10 minutes. I'm sure Ray can confirm that for us. Visit Ray, thanks for that. Said I messed about with a few of the settings. Hopefully noticed from watching the last stream back that there was a few sound issues and a few picture quality issues, so hopefully that's all sorted out now. We might be able to tweak a little bit more, but I don't want it to be set too good where people with poor internet, I'll have their internet buffing all the time. See this in the race in real life. If you were in the rain like this, look, this is what you'd see. Group 1 cars, just no visibility at all from in cockpit view. Presuming nobody is probably using cockpit view, but maybe there is some that are. Decides to take the lead. So he looks like he's going to want to be the first one to put a lap in here. Look at that, the wet conditions really struggling to get that power down. Looks like he was having wheel spin right up into 4th gear there. Be interesting to see if anyone does one fast lap and then decides to come straight into the pits and maybe risk a lap on the inters. Rosie's getting a half a second penalty there, really not what you want just before starting your lap, because he won't be able to serve that, so he is going to have to serve a slow down during his qualifying lap. That's not a good start from Rosie's there. Well, that rain's really coming down. As he gets through Dunlop curve and Dunlop chicane, no problem at all there. Let's see how he does. We're coming onto the Mulsanne now. So obviously in the dry in these cars, Tetra Rouge is flat, but yeah, really big lift in the wet. And all that hybrid has already gone, so he's going to have no hybrid advantage down the straights. But his hybrid is going up down the straight, which will be a good thing for these cars. But it's showing him as using it, which is a little bit confusing. but that could just be GT's displays being a bit off like usual. Obviously missing them chicanes out makes the straights much easier, but looks like this Porsche 100 and just round that kink on the Mulsanne, that slight kink, and you saw the car slide out there, so got to be really careful even down that section of the track that you think you've got no worries about. But about 183 miles per hour, I believe, there at the top end, and I think Nick was getting in that Group C about 230. I think it was about 215, was it, in the GR10 that DTR's using, so huge differences in straight line speed there. Yeah, I believe most will be using, and most that I've seen so far have got TCR on, mate. As Roses is going to have to serve his penalty on this fast lap. But it does look like he's pulled away from people behind, so unless there was someone that started the lap a bit behind everyone, he might still be on for the fastest lap even with serving that penalty. As we see an advertising board in the middle of the track there, so someone must have hit that on their out lap. It's been really tentative through the Porsche curves, which again is normally very, very fast in the dry in these Group 1 cars, but so tentative through there. And look at that, he's pressing the brake while fully on the power a tiny bit. I'm presuming to just try and keep the car stable, as well as maybe trying to build his battery up. He's going to go straight for another lap. Yeah, nobody's going to have time to come back into the pits by the looks of it. They're not going to get out, get round and get a lap in time in these conditions. But let's see if anyone behind can beat Roses this time, as we've got King Gears next across the line. No, he doesn't. Matches it about the same, so Roses could have had a nice gap if it wasn't for that half a second penalty. Let's see what Nick can do in that Group C. 11 seconds off, nearly 12 seconds off there in the Group C, so the straight line advantage is there, but maybe not doing as well through the corners. As you see, Wacky's just coming up to the 4 chicanes now. He must have had a very poor lap there, must have had an incident, well off the pace there. Easy done in the rain, so he'll want to improve on his next. So here's our first Group 3 car to come across the line, is Wabbit. As Gibble crossed the line right behind him. Jaeger then to cross the line, I believe, was also in a Group 3. So who's next on the road? Looks like Matt Jam might be the next one to set a time. Matt Jam goes third of the Group 3s by the looks of it, as Little Nicky crosses the line and goes third of the Group 3s. And then we've got Heat Seeker, who goes straight across at the chicane, which is not good for his lap and not good for the next lap either. And let's see how DTR Cars is doing. Oh, and he gets a half a second penalty there as well. So not great there. So let's go on board with Nick for a bit in this Group C car. Hopefully it'll flick. It's supposed to be in cockpit view, so hopefully it'll flick onto the cockpit. There we go. Oh, does he not know the track very well, Matt Jam? I suppose one advantage, at least you've took the two of the chicanes out, so there's slightly less corners to figure out. But in the rain, it's going to be difficult. Especially with it being slightly darker at the start of the race. See, can Nick get the power down there? Really struggling. And there he nearly spins it out, but just catches it. Yeah, I think if people have had plenty of time to practice and have took it serious in the practice in the rain, then yes, there'll be incidents at the chicane, but obviously not having that long to practice and with the rain and people not fully being used to it yet in this game, then obviously at the moment it probably would be absolute carnage having them 2 extra chicanes in. But I think if they were in, I don't think Nick would be risking this Group C card at all. As King Gears goes on to pole, I think both Rosie's and King Gears improved there by the looks of it. Let's see, can Nick improve? He does, but that keeps him in 4th. Closest to the line, Wacky, so can Wacky push himself up? As we got a couple who are coming to the pits already. Yeah, 34-second improvement there from Wacky. Still in 5th place, as Wabbit should be the next one to cross the line, it looks like. Wabbit's currently holding 2nd position of the Group 3 cars, and he doesn't improve, and that's qualifying over, so the others won't get to set a lap, because unfortunately mustn't have crossed the line soon enough, because you don't get that long after the timer runs out. Yeah, hopefully you can do well, DTR. As I said, I think first and foremost they'll be keeping it on the track early on and maybe take advantage of those that don't manage to keep it on the track. And then maybe look to speed up later on as the track starts to dry out. Oh, Jibril and Jaeger must have had a coming together at the Porsche curves, unfortunately. So we'll see if any of those that mismanaged to come in. As it does look like someone's joining there, so... But at the moment we have got 6 Group 1 cars by the looks of it. And 5 Group 3s. But that can't be right. My counting must be off there because there's 12 cars. As Arden does make it in. So it's just 7 Group 1 cars at the moment. And 5 Group 3. I'm not sure what Arden's in. We'll see when he jumps in. Or Ray might be able to tell us before he picks his car. I'm guessing he's in Group 3, but not 100%. Oh, it doesn't matter where, we'll find out in a minute. Just that, yeah, Group 3. See, there you go. You've cottoned on now. Yeah, so it's not going to be too bad. 7 Group 1, 6 Group 3. And a fairly nice variety of cars as well. As King Gears asks people to tick in and then goes and changes the room settings. So good going there from King Gears. Hey, Jason. Cheering on Jibril there by the looks of it. Yeah. Oh, or is Jason Jibril? Is that what he's saying? Yeah, so good luck in the race then, mate. Nice to see you're one of the ones going for a different car choice. I don't know. Hopefully Jason will answer us and let us know. You made me think that, Ray, but to start with, I was just presuming that Jason is cheering on Jibril. Yeah, you're right, Ray. So Jason is Jibril. So nice to put a name to the PSN there, Jason. Well, if you're going to do a 360 spin on the straight, Jason, can you wait till I've got you on the stream, please, for entertainment value? Thank you. Oh, the big man is in the house. You all right, Paul? Well, good luck with whatever race you're doing, Paul. I'm presuming it's something on F1. As we see everybody doing donuts before the start. Yeah, very well. If Paul's doing a race, it's always F1 anyway, innit? It don't matter what day of the week it is. It looks like everyone's going to be ready to get underway soon. Arden in the Aston Martin there by the looks of it. So another different car. So we've got a nice variety of cars here. I would say that you risk averting for some other reason, Paul, but we need to keep it family friendly. Plus, it is your choice to have the force feedback turned up that high. But then again, I would probably do the same in that situation. So hopefully we don't lose the more cinematic view at the start like we have done most of the time. But we might have to flick off after the start and back on quickly. As King Gears is going to lead us off here. And yeah, we do lose the cinematic camera. There's a surprise. As King Gears bottles it right at the start. He starts off and he's the first one off the track. Let's see what his rejoin's like. You're being watched, King Gears. Yeah, and he does rejoin safely there. So that puts him right to the back of the pack. Unless Heatseeker spun before the start of the line, maybe. As King Gears now is going to have to work his way through them GT3 cars, which is not what you want to do at the start of the race as a Group 1. And it looks like DTR Cars as well has got a couple of Group 3 cars to work his way through. I know, Baz, what's he playing out there? As DTR is now through them Group 3s. It's Rosie's leading us away then. We'll just check everybody's tyres. I'm presuming everybody's on wets and nobody's gone for inters in this condition. But we'll just flick through and double check that's the case. And yeah, everybody is on the wet tyres, which is what we expected. Oh, as Rosie's nearly loses it there. We watched Rosie's in qualifying, nearly lost it at that same point as well, as he's now got Nick right behind him making the use of that top end. So Nick now, can he hold the rest of the pack up going through these twisty bits where he doesn't have the advantage, as Rosie's manages to hold it on the outside and Jibril has a bit of a slide there. Oh, and look at Nick's really struggling to get the power down. Well, it looked like he was only rowing on one side of the car before, which is why he was spinning round in circles, Baz. As Nick goes off, no, does he hold it? He's hit the wall. If he catches this, it's going to be incredible. He didn't catch it, but that could have been a much worse death than what it was. He has got damage, though. But he has got away without picking up a penalty. So we now have Roses up into the lead with a bit of a gap now to Jibril. So Jibril with not the best start qualifying, but a very good start to this race. Nick still holding on behind, now in a bit of no man's land after that big incident. And then we've got DTR Cars in 4th. And Kingy is back up to 5th now. 14 seconds off the lead after, I would say, taking the lead into the first corner, but I don't think he made it to the first corner. So I don't think you can count that as taking the lead into the first corner. Taking the lead across the line to start the race, we'll say. And then Wacky in 6th. So we're just missing one Group 1 car, so Heatseeker must have had issues. But then we've got Wabbit is leading the way of the Group 3 cars, but he's followed very closely by Ryan Clark there. And then Jaeger's not too far behind, a couple of seconds off, with Little Nicky not far behind him, and Matt Jam right on the back. And then Arden very close. It looks like all the Group 3 cars are fairly close together, as Heatseeker's going to have to work his way through this. Oh, as Nicky goes there. So Nicky is the first Group 3 car that we've seen go off. We said, was he taking a risk choosing that Ford GT? Because it was a nightmare on tyres and rear end grip at this track in the Nexus League. So in the rain, I imagine it's a real handful. Hey, Ant, mate. So let's let poor Nicky recover there. As you see, Rosie's looks like he's starting to pull a lead out as Nick has dropped right back, obviously going, but this is where Nick will catch up. Let's see the difference. 7.9 seconds behind Jibril as we joined him. So let's see what difference this Group C car has on the straight. As he's already reeled in nearly a second now. Oh, but he loses it on the straight. That's how much of a handful that Group C car is. It's struggling to even hold its power in the straight. And that gets King Gears back up to third place now. And that gap to the lead has come down for King Gears. So King Gears, after that poor start, is still well in the fight for this race. Looks like he's got the most pace at the start of this race. So he can catch those front guys back up. As Rosie's must have had an incident. Yeah, Rosie's has had an incident there. He's dropped back. So King Gears won't be too far behind Rosie's soon. I'm sure we saw the car going off in the background. DTR cars just touched the wall. As him and Nick in the straight line speed beasts are now coming to the part of the track where they're going to struggle. Now let's go back to them Group 3 cars and see what's going on. So Wabbit's still leading the way with Clarkey behind him, but they have now got Heat Seeker in the Group 1 coming up behind them. Yeah, Ray, the GT should do good in the dry, but you need to be in contention when you get to the dry part of the race to make the most of it. And also then you've still got to stay on the dry line for a while till the track fully dries up as well. As Jaeger has started to drop back now, but then there must have been incidents for Arden and Matt Jam as well as Nicky now, because they've really dropped off. So the Group 3s are starting to spread out now as we see yellow flags. Who's that that's off? Oh, unfortunately, that's Heat Seeker that's off there. So now he's going to have to do all that work again of coming back through the Group 3 cars as he struggles to get it re-going with the damage there. As Jaeger is clinging with Clarkey and Wabbit, but looks like Clarkey and... Oh no, Clarkey must have had a slight issue as Wabbit looks like he's pulled away at the front there of those GT3 cars. As we see DTR cars and Wacky having a real battle here. And then Nick in fourth in that Group C. Kingy is now right in there with those issues for guys at the front. Kingy is, after being 15 seconds off the lead at the start due to an incident, is now back in that lead group. And he's got the fastest lap and he's going purple again. So Kingy is in prime position here as long as he doesn't make another mistake like he did before. Not to put any pressure on him, no. But Jibril is sitting in the lead at the moment. And these cars all similar pace, so they won't be catching, but Nick should be catching down the straight if he can keep that power going in a straight line. If you look, he's in 5th gear and he's still not even full throttle. That's how much of a handful this car is. It has the straight line speed advantage, but look at that. He can't use that straight line speed advantage. He can't get up to his top speed. He can only get up to the same sort of top speed as them other Group 1 cars. See, look at that, even in 5th, just still feathering that throttle. Yeah, and the more he puts it on, look, he just loses and has to slow down. So unfortunately, Nick can't take advantage of that top end speed, but he will be hoping that he can later on. Yeah, well, I wanted to see if I could hit King Gears with the commentator's curse, Paul. You don't want him having it too easy, do we? Yeah, 230. We hit 230 in the rain in practice before race, so he can hit it but it's just getting to it. It seems to be a real handful in that car. As we see DTR having a little bit of an issue. He'll have the same problem in his car, but he should be a bit easier at getting the power down. But he has got damage, so he must have had a little incident there. As Wabbit still leads the Group 3s, but he has got a 1.5 second penalty there as Heatseeker comes back through. So Clarkey should take the lead of the Group 3 cars now then. Just waiting to come up to that penalty line. I believe it's after Indianapolis and Arnage, the penalty zone here. So after the next corner for these guys. As Jaeger has started to drop off the front two here, but he's got a clear third place in those Group 3 cars for now. As we see yellow flags, unfortunately that's Heatseeker again. Heatseeker's really struggling here. As we see Wabbit come to serve his penalty down. So Clarkey is going to take the lead of the Group 3 cars. As we see King Gears there has taken the lead of this race and started to pull a gap. So we said King Gears looked like he had the pace and the way he was gaining on these guys. And he has took the lead now and got it out to nearly 3 seconds. So King Gears will be wanting to just keep it clean now. In the rain, he clearly has the most pace at the moment. As Jibril looks to be struggling a little bit for grip compared to King Gears. Yeah, Ray Nickel coming to his own with a dry track, but I still don't know how much of a difference that straight line speed will make overall, because there'll still be wet lines on the track for a while. So let's see how far. Yeah, Nick's already 30 seconds behind, so could be difficult, but the bigger gap King Gears has got, the better. And especially now, just at the moment in general, he looks like he's got the pace in these conditions, so you need to make the most of it, because, you know, we might see some of the others, Jibril or Roses, might have a bit more pace later on in the race, as Roses just holds it there. I think the wall saved him a little bit there. He nearly went, but he's got away with that one. Just lost a bit of time. As we see, Wacky and DTR still fairly close, so this could be an interesting battle between these two all race long, but DTR, unfortunately, in these wet conditions is struggling a little bit, as we've seen him pick up damage and penalties a couple of times now. As he nearly loses it again, he's having the same problems that Nick's having in the straight, and that's getting his power down to get to that top speed. So he does have a top speed advantage, but he can't use it at the moment. So he will be wanting the track to dry out to make the use of that top speed advantage. As Heatseeker now back past those Group 3 cars. So hopefully he can keep it in a straight line. As Clarkey has started to pull a gap from Wabbit now. But Wabbit will be looking to try and close back up. Ears died, that's one, but yeah, Ears has dropped out the lead, so something has happened there. Just as Paul said, gap building is key in the wet, so more like commentator's curse rather than commentator's curse there, Paul. So Kingy has got all that hard work to do again, but he does look like he's got the pace in these conditions, so, but mistakes like that won't help him. But Nick is still struggling, Nick is still dropping back. So Nick will be hoping it dries out sooner than the other guys will. The likes of Kingy will probably be wanting it to stay wet as long as possible. As Nick goes off again there, just proving our point. That one probably was a commentator's curse. As Wacky now has pulled away from DTR Cars, who's having similar issues to Nick. Yeah, you can already see the rain is getting lighter, and if you look, we're now hovering. A lot of the parts of the track are hovering between wets and inters, according to the wet indicator or whatever they call it. It keeps jumping between the two at that top end of inters. So maybe people will try inters early and take a risk, but maybe people will just stay on the wet tyres until a real decent dry line starts to occur and the rain has fully stopped. As we see yellow flags there, is that for Wacky it looks like? Yes, DTR Cars is now right back up behind Wacky. Yeah, at the moment, Baz, it is still too wet for inters, but that's what I mean. What I'm saying is the bar's getting right on that cusp between the two. So it'll be how early will people want to take that risk. They're probably going to wait for it to stop raining at least, but a few people might, as soon as it stops raining, take the risk. And some might wait out until there's a real consistent drier line there. So Ears will stay on wets till it's dry enough for softs. So Ears has got his strategy planned out there then. Be interesting to see whether everybody does that or whether people do take that gap onto the inters. See, Rabbit's still holding on at about 2 seconds to Clarkey there, but he'll want to be getting back up into slipstream if he can, but he is matching pace at the moment as Clarkey has a big slide there. And then Jaeger has now caught both of them up, so good driving from Jaeger here. He's caught back up to both of them. So he will be looking to get back in that battle with the front three, so we could have a three-way battle for the lead in the GT3 class. And Arden is up into fourth with a fairly big gap both ways. And then Nicky and Matt Jam bringing up the rear, but very close to each other, so these two could have a good battle later on. Both struggling a little bit in these wet conditions. And Kingy is back into the lead now then. So I wonder if something's happened to Jason there, because he's dropped back a little bit behind these front two. Yeah, some great driving going on in these conditions, Paul. See, Kingy has run a little bit deep into that corner there, and that allows Roses to gain back up a little bit, but he just seems to get the exits in the wet, so he seems to know what he's doing in these wet conditions at the moment. So hopefully this time he can pull out a gap without making a mistake. Yeah, no worries, Paul. Hopefully you have a good race yourself. Hopefully you don't have any rain issues in your race. He can pick up another penalty there. Wabbit is closing that gap to Ryan. He's not far off slipstream now. And then Jaeger, unfortunately, in the background has picked up a half a second penalty. So that won't do his chasing down much good. As Nicky is catching Arden now, and Matt Jam has caught up to Nicky. So we could have a three-way battle going on soon here in the GT3 class. Let's see, is Matt Jam gonna go for the move on Nicky or sit behind him? Looks like he's just gonna sit behind him for now. You can see it looks like the rain is starting to stop now. And there's definitely a drier line occurring. When they're all on the racing line now, we're definitely in the middle of Inter's conditions according to that wet meter bar. But obviously the problem is if you stray slightly offline at the moment, it's going to be really wet on the track. Oh, so something must have happened with Clarkey and Wabbit battling maybe, because Jaeger, even serving that penalty, has closed back in on the two of them. So we have got a three-way battle for the lead of the GT3s now as Heatseeker comes into the pits. So is he our first one gonna go on to Inters? No, he's gonna go on to softs. Surely that's a mistake from Heatseeker there. Surely it's way too early for dry tyres. And yeah, there he goes, first corner off the track. I wonder if that's a mistake, whether he's pressed the wrong button there as he picks up a 6-second penalty. But he's going to have to get out the way of these Group 3 cars coming through. This lead battle of the Group 3s is there. Yeah, and this is really going to hinder that battle of them Group 3 cars now. Yeah, and Heatseeker just can't get it stopped or turned. So I wonder if that was a misclick from Heatseeker there. Yeah, Ray, that's what I'm thinking, that he's pressed the wrong button. He surely didn't mean to put softs on that early, surely not. But we've got a great little battle lining up in them Group 3 after 20 minutes of this race. There's front three cars for the Group 3s are all one behind the other in slipstream. So let's just go back up through the Group 1 cars now then. As Wacky's got a bit, but DTR cars, no, maybe he didn't. Look like he might have had a bit of an incident there. But some parts of the track now are looking very dry on the racing line. The problem is slightly off the racing line. And it looks like the rain has fully stopped now. So let's see how quick the track can dry out. A 40-second gap Nick has got to the lead. So as he goes really wide there, and look at the difference. Running wide there, full wet conditions, and when he's on the racing line, it's right on the edge of inters and dries. As Nick sets a new fastest lap, so Nick is on the charge now, it seems. But obviously he did get a penalty setting that fastest lap, so technically it shouldn't really count as the fastest lap. But that gap is still coming up, so maybe he just had the best conditions on that lap and everybody will be going purple now. Yeah, possibly, Baz. It's whether anybody's willing to risk it. The problem is you've got to be on the racing line, obviously, if you're going to use the dry tyres at the moment. But I do think we are on the verge of dry tyres being a feasible option. So clearly the rain gets off the track fairly quickly. Maybe that's due to the time of day speed, because it is set at times 16 time acceleration to obviously do a full 24-hour cycle here. But the track has dried up a lot quicker than I would have expected, which I think means what Ray was saying with King Gears going from wets to dries. I believe that's what everybody's going to do now. Because really, to be honest, you'd have only got 2 laps on the inters, 3 laps maybe, before it being dry enough to come into the pits again. So you can see why people are staying out on the wets. Let's go back and see what that gap is now to Nick. 32 seconds now that they've been down the straight, showing what a huge difference this car has down the straight, especially now it can get its power down. So Nick is on the charge through now then. So we'll see what Nick can do. But obviously, Nick's still the most likely to make a mistake in these cars if he slightly goes offline. Yeah, obviously longer pit stops as well makes the extra tyre change not as worth it. But I did not expect the track to dry up so quickly after the rain stopped. But literally the rain stopped and there's a full dry line already appeared now. So it's just who blinks first coming into the pits. I doubt King Gears will be the first one into the pits just because he's leading. So unless it's really dry conditions, he probably will stay out. It's more likely to be someone further down the field, as Roses and Jibril change positions there by the looks of it. As Wabbit for the... So Wabbit, one of the leaders of the Group 3s, did come into the pits. That might be a smart play from Wabbit there, because also he's been overtaken by a few of the Group 1s while in the pits. So that'll prevent him losing time. So maybe that's a tactical masterstroke there from Wabbit. Or maybe incidents did Jaeger have an incident? Or did Jaeger pit as well? No, Jaeger's pitted as well. So it looks like Jaeger and Wabbit. So Wabbit must have had an incident on the lap before. But it looks like Jaeger and Wabbit and Arden have all come in for the soft tyres now. And we've got Matt Jam still out on the wets. Nicky still out on the wets. And Clarkie's still out on the wets. So we'll see what advantage them soft tyres have, whether they undercut Clarkie or not. So I presume Clarkie now will come in on this lap. Hey Jack, nice to see you, mate. Heatseeker now, them softs working for him. As Wacky goes past the pit, so Wacky doesn't come in. So none of the Group 1s have come in yet other than Heatseeker still. See, as Nick clearly, obviously, he's getting the advantage in that straight line, but he's losing a lot of time elsewhere on the track because he keeps bringing that gap down, but it keeps going back up again. But he can hit that 230 now. Look at that difference. In the wet, he was still sliding in 5th gear at 170. Now he's doing 230, no problem. So Nick should start to reel in these other cars as long as he can keep it clean. Looks like he gains roughly 7 or 8 seconds down the straight, which is insane, but he will lose time through like the Porsche curves and through the chicanes. Yeah, some great liveries out there, Jack. A few just standard ones, but a few very good ones. As King Gears just starts to lap some of the cars then as he comes past Matt Jam. And he's now going to come past Little Nicky there. So now traffic management is going to come into it a little bit for these Group 1 cars. Let's see how Rosie's deals with it. As we see, Jibril, was that off in the background? Yes, it was. As Rosie's does get by Matt Jam in the Porsche curves. Did well there, Rosie's. But he has lost a lot of time. Kingy has got past them cars at the right moment. He's really gained from that. As Clarkie does come into the pits as expected. So we'll look out for where Clarkie in the Group 1s comes out. As Kingy has pits and Rosie's pits. Is Jibril going to follow suit or is he going to stay out? No, Jibril is going to stay out. So Jibril going for the alternate strategy to the other Group 1 cars here. Let's see if that pays off for him later in the race. And what about Nick? Is Nick going to peel off into the pits? Yes, he is. So Nick's coming into the pits. So let's go see where Clarkey is in comparison to Jaeger. Jaeger has jumped Clarkey in the pit stops there. So a massive undercut with putting the soft tyres on there. So Jaeger's now inherited the lead of the Group 3 cars. But obviously we've still got Nicky and Matt Jam still out on the wet tyres at the moment. So we'll see how these strategies pay out later on. And Clarkey's got less fuel than Jaeger as well, so that was a big undercut. Unfortunately, Wabbit's had issues though. After a great first half an hour of this race, Wabbit's starting to struggle now. Maybe just hit the wet line, having put them dry tyres on. So unfortunately, Wabbit to the back of the grid, with Nick coming out just behind him. But Nick spins on them wets on those dry tyres as well. On the power too much coming out the pit lane that hasn't dried out. So not a great pit exit there by Nick's. Going to lose some of that time that he was gaining to those cars in front. But he has fueled up full. But so have King Ears and Roses. And then we've got Jibril still to come into the pits. As Nick goes off again, this is what we said with this Group C car. Yes, the dry conditions is what he wants. The problem is if he goes offline, he's going to pretty much die in that car straight away. Whereas the others might get away with slightly going offline. So Nick now going to want to use that power down the straight and gain some of that time back. But he's lost about 15 seconds to Roses there with those incidents after coming out the pits, and not what he wanted. Let's see how close his Roses and King Ears are. King Ears is still pulling a gap, but he's got Jaeger to get by now. So King Ears did take advantage of that traffic before the pit stops. And it looks like he got past the traffic fairly cleanly after the pit stops as well. So traffic going very well for King Ears. But it looks like Roses is going to catch the traffic in a bad position again. So Roses is not having the luck with the traffic at the moment. He got caught out coming in on the lap into the pit through the Porsche curves with the slower traffic. And now is he going to catch him into Arnage? No, they might be alright. He might be able to just get them on the exit, no problem. Yeah, so hopefully here he can get them before the Porsche curves and they won't have slowed him down at all. As Clarkey looks like he's catching right up to Jaeger now. Yeah, as Roses, luckily that time doesn't get held up by traffic. So he has managed to gain a bit of time back on King Ears, who has caught Nicky in an awkward position. So there's traffic for Roses before was inconvenient through the Porsche curves, and now for King Ears, as we do see Roses catching up, and he gets past Nicky much nicer because Nicky ends up running wide. So the traffic there has been a huge advantage for Roses, even more of an advantage than what King Ears got with traffic earlier on. So that's closed this lead battle right up now as we want. Oh, as King Ears spins for us there. And he can't get it turned back round. Can he get it going again? So things have all gone wrong for King Ears there. And he wants to get off the racing line, but he doesn't want to because he's got dry tyres on. But he does get going before them Group 3s catch back up. So luckily he gets away with that. As Jibril, another car coming for a spin out the pits. People not taking into account that the pit lane is still wet. Had no time to dry. So, not good. Sounds like Kingy is making some funny noises there with his spin. He's caught up a few times. Can he do it again? But Roses, things have turned on the half hour for Roses here. He got a great advantage from traffic with Kingy is getting held up through the Porsche curves. And then Kingy is going for the spin through the Ford chicanes. So Roses on this lap has... He's gone from a 10 seconds off the lead to a 10-second lead himself within the space of about 3 corners. Yeah, the curbs will still be soaking wet, as Baz says. That's probably where Kingy's got it wrong, gone for too much through the 4 chicanes, but Roses will not complain at all about that. So Roses now into the driving seat in this race, as Gibral is gaining on King Ears at the moment. And where's Nick? Nick is now 40 seconds off the lead. So those incidents helping Nick out a little bit, but he needs to get the clean laps in. He's had too many laps with big issues and big mistakes, but look at the lap times that he can do when he does get a clean lap. It's just he needs to get more clean laps to close this gap up. But if he can do that, this gap will start to close. Let's just have a check on the Group 3 cars now then and see where we're at. Jaeger must have had a big issue because we got Clarkey in a clear 22-second lead for the Group 3 cars now. Arden is now up into 2nd place. So Arden, that's looked like he's been sat fairly near the back of this Group 3 track in the wet, has been biding his time. And now the dry has come out. He's got himself up into 2nd place. But there is a very big gap to Clarkey though, as Jaeger is not too far behind in 3rd for these Group 3s, as DTR cars is coming to pass some of this traffic. Matt Jam then a fair way off Jaeger then, with Nicky not too far behind, and unfortunately everything went wrong for Wabbit. He was doing so well in the wet part of this race. As soon as things have started to come close to dry conditions, he's had a few little incidents and he's gone from being right on, well, he was leading for quite a while, but also right on the tail of 1st place for a lot of it as well. He's now right down at the back of this Group 3 pack, so he'll be hoping to put in some clean laps and capitalise on any mistakes up ahead. So back to the Group 1s now, as Roses is now pulling out a lead. So Kingy has looked like he had the best of it in the wet conditions. Roses seems to be making the most of these dry conditions now, as he's just starting out on another lap. Oh, but he does spin. Commentator's curse there, just as we're on board with him. Can he get it going? So this is great news for King Ears, and also great news for Nick, who is lapping 5 seconds quicker than Roses at the moment. So Nick will be really closing up here, and so will King Ears. And Gibral is closing up on King Ears as well. Just a Nick only 33 seconds off the lead now. And he's not far off coming to the Long Mulsanne straight again, where he will get the advantage of that extra 50 miles an hour of top speed that Group C car has got. Yeah, it was a fairly nice save. He lost as little time as possible. It looks like he is still 10 seconds in the lead. So he's still at the stage he was when King Ears had his incident. So it was a lesser incident than King Ears. But as we know from the Team Taurus, Roses likes to have these little minor issues and get away with them. But he'll be sitting there in his chair with his arse clenched, probably, hoping not to have any more like that. As Gibral is right up over King Ears now, so King Ears did not make enough of those dry conditions. He's now struggling, sorry, in the wet conditions. He's now struggling that it's come to the drier conditions. It looks like Roses has got more pace than him pulling away at the front. And it looks like Gibral is starting to gain on him from behind as well, as Nick now down to a 20 seconds off the lead. But obviously this is the part of the track where Nick is soon going to start to lose a bit of time again. DTR Cars looks like he's gaining back up into this fight, as he's just coming to get past Clarkey. But is he going to get held up at all? Should be able to pass him on the exit of this corner, no worries. So traffic fairly well at the moment. We've seen Roses get held up a little bit through the Porsche curves, and we saw King Ears get massively held up through the Porsche curves. But other than that, it looks like at the moment no one's struggling with traffic too much. As we see Arden and Jaeger battling it out now. So Jaeger has managed to catch back up to Arden. So we've got a little battle for second place in the Group 3 cars. Yeah, Baz, Nick is getting quick, but he's still making mistakes every now and again. So if he can keep it clean, he will be up in that lead pretty soon, I imagine. And if it dries out fully, then Nick will probably be favourite to go on and win this race. Well, you're saying 3:04. There's Nick just doing a 3:07. So we move back to see what that gap is. Yeah, it has gone up slightly through that section, but not as much as I expected. See, but there is the mistake that we're on about that's easy to make in that car. And that's probably going to get him a half a second penalty unless he lifted long enough. It looks like he might have lifted and lost enough time to not get a penalty. But he's been gaining, around about 7 or 8 seconds down the Mulsanne straight, I believe. So obviously now he's going to be right on the back of Jibril by the end of the Mulsanne, I imagine. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Yeah, so right on the back of King he is as well. So he's going to be right in this podium battle any time. So Roses is going to want to keep these clean laps coming in and start pulling this gap because Nick is closing in like an absolute rocket now. As you see, it does look like Wabbit's maybe closing up a little bit to Little Nicky. But Little Nicky is all over the back of Matt Jam now. So they're having a good little battle here in the Group 3 cars as they just come through the Porsche curves. Which is where we've seen Nicky run wide a few times, but he keeps it on the track that time. And he is all over the back of Matt Jam now. As it looks like Jaeger has got past Arden then. But Arden now all over the back of Jaeger, so these are having one hell of a battle, but that might allow Clarkey to pull away at the front of this Group 3 pack with a 26-second lead. Looking at the tyres, looks like everybody's going to have to pit again. So probably going to just pit for another set of softs. And the same with the fuel. So I imagine they're just going to run the fuel down. And hopefully if they run the fuel down, that'll be enough for them to just pit once more. And that'll be it. But yeah, Arden working together with Jaeger here now then. So very smart from Arden there, working together down the straight. They are going to see if they can close that gap up to Clarkey now then. As we see Wacky just coming up to some traffic with Wabbit there. But he should get past him on the Mulsanne, no problem. Maybe been held up a little bit, but not too much by the looks of it. So he should get past fairly easily now. And he does. I'm surprised he went that side. I thought he'd have gone to the inside, but he made it work, so not an issue. As DTR not gaining on Nick, but Nick's obviously flying, so I wonder if DTR is gaining on those ahead though. As Jibril is past King Ears, we said King Ears looked like he didn't have as much pace in the dry as what he had in the wet. And this is good for Roses because those two battling will make it harder for Nick as well when he catches up. But as we see, Nick's times are still fluctuating. 7 seconds slower on that last lap than his fastest lap. So he is still struggling with this car. Yeah, I thought it looked like the Peugeot was gaining in the straight. So of those lot of Group 1s, it's obviously the fastest. But obviously it's got nothing on Nick's. So Nick's 230. I think DTR was doing 215, I believe, on the straights. So not quite sure what Jibril's getting up to. He's getting nearly to 200, 196, looking like he's topping out at. So he's got about 10 or 12 miles per hour on the Porsches. So he is pulling away from King Gears now. But he is going to have a penalty to serve, so King Gears will be right back on the back of him soon. Yeah, I think it's as long as Nick can keep it clean now, the pace he's got as he absolutely flies past King Gears there. The pace he's got now, he'll be past Jibril when Jibril serves his penalty at this rate. So if he gets past Jibril when Jibril serves his penalty, there's going to be no stopping him chasing down Roses, I don't think. It's just going to be whether he can keep the consistent laps, because his lap times are really fluctuating up and down. As we see, like, some of the laps he's done are really slow and some are really fast, so be interesting to see as the race goes on whether he can keep it clean. But the drier the track gets as a whole, the bigger advantage that will be for Nick. So the earlier he can get this lead, the more cautious he can be. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if by the end of the next Mulsanne he's not too far off Roses. Probably by the end of the Mulsanne he's going to be within 5 seconds at a guess. Maybe 6 or 7 at the most. But as you see here, look at the difference through this section. You can see Jibril's really being held up by Nick here. Jibril can go much faster than Nick through this part of the track, all over the back of him. And that allows King Gears to get side by side with Jibril. And is he going to be able to go side by side with Nick? No, he's not. But he is going to be side by side with Jibril into this chicane. But no, he backs out of it. He plays it safe, single file through the 4 chicanes. Not worth going for it there. He's had enough crashes in this one, as Nick does improve the fastest lap. And King Gears does get past Jibril again now then. So you can see Nick really held them 2 up through the Porsche curves. And then now he's going to run away as King Gears gets a little bit of a wiggle there. Is that going to allow Jibril to come back through? No, Jibril settles back in behind, knows he's got the top end speed. So he'll probably come past King Gears on the straight, no problem. Yeah, Nick will be flying away. It's just whether he can keep these clean laps up, but he is obviously massively going to be closing down on Roses now then. So we'll flick back in a bit to see how close he is. But let's go see what's going on in the Group 3 cars now then. As Clarkey has got a lead, but there is a second less gap between him and Jaeger, as Arden has dropped off the back of Jaeger now after working together earlier on. As Arden spins there, does he keep it going? No, he then spins trying to save it. Unfortunate there for Arden. We come to him at a bad moment on the stream there. Can he get this car back going in a straight line? No. So that's going to make it comfortable for Jaeger in second place now. Is it going to allow Matt Jam and Nicky, who are very close, to close up towards Arden? But they've both got a penalty to serve by the looks of it. And Wabbit is slowly closing that gap to Nicky and Matt Jam though. So Wabbit's not fully out of this race yet. He is still gaining. As we see Roses coming to pass Nicky now. So if he gets held up in traffic, this will really help Nick out. And Nick has got it down to 7 seconds now. We said 6 or 7 seconds, probably after the Mulsanne. So as we see Nick in the background there, but Rosie should start to pull away through this section of the track. And Nick obviously is going to catch Wabbit. So it might not be the best moment for Nick catching the traffic here. But then again, his car's not the fastest through this section of the track for the Group 1s. So he might be all right. Let's see then as he does gain up to Wabbit now. Yeah, he's going to get held up through the 4 chicanes, I believe, here. No, he is going to get by him just before. Perfect timing for Nick there. He's able to get by just before the 4 chicanes. But it looks like he's very close to the track limits on that first one there. Yeah, on a 1 second penalty, I was right. But he had to get by. I think it's worth getting that penalty to get by Wabbit there. And he would have lost more than a second by staying behind Wabbit there through the chicane. So probably well worth picking up that penalty there for Nick, as that gap now is 11 seconds to Rose's. But this is where Nick's car will start to come into its own, back down the straight again. So Nick's going to catch back up and be fairly closest. Did someone skid off there? Yes, they did. It was little Nicky. Let's see if he can get it back going, as he's got traffic coming through. So unfortunate for Nicky. He's had to wait to rejoin the track there with traffic coming through. And Wabbit has got up into 12th place there. So unfortunate incident there for Nicky. Yeah, hopefully Nicky can recover from that, as, I mean, Wabbit's had a few bad incidents and he's slowly gaining on the other GT3 cars. So Wabbit is making the most of it as well and coming back. So hopefully Nicky can have a good final half an hour of the race and start to come back through as well, as we see fairly big gaps to all the positions in the Group 3s now, after seeing 2 very, very close battles for the first half an hour of this race in the Group 3 category. It looks like those cars have now spread out, which is probably good news for the Group 1 cars. Less chance of getting caught in a bad position with traffic. And look at that, down to 4 seconds for Nick now. And he'll gain a little bit more down this straight as well, I believe. But obviously he's going to lose a bit of time through the Porsche curves, and he's going to have to serve his penalty after Arnage. But it does look like Nick's in the driving seat of this race now. There's not going to be a lot that Roses can do when he does catch him. And Roses gets held up a little bit by traffic here as well. That's unfortunate timing for Roses. That's the second time we've seen Roses come across traffic in a bit of an awkward position. So he has lost time to Nick there, but Nick's going to serve his penalty now. So it won't be many laps now before Nick's on the back of Roses, I don't think. And once he gets on the back of him, as soon as they come to that Mulsanne straight, he'll be past no problem at all. As Roses is setting personal best laps, but he is 6 seconds a lap slower than Nick when Nick's going at full chat. So it's going to be hard to pull out a 6 second difference. I knew that the Group 3 would be quicker. I did not expect it to be that much quicker, because I don't think it'd be quicker with the chicanes within there. But without the chicanes, it's clearly massively quicker, especially in the dry conditions when he can get that power down. Yeah, so Nick's going to be within a couple of seconds of... Oh, does Clarkey come out the pits there? Is that Clarkey having pitted? It is. So Clarkey clearly wasn't liking the tyres. He's fueled up full and gone on to the mediums till the end of this race now then. So he's clearly decided to pit a bit earlier, take their mediums while he had a comfortable lead. So we'll see what Jaeger decides to do. Yes, Jaeger's tyres are quite dead, so maybe a lot of these Group 3 cars will be going on to the mediums now then. As unfortunately Heatseeker has come to a stop on the track there. And what about DTR cars now? His tyres not looking great. And he has got a fairly big gap to King Gears now. So he's in a little bit of no man's land, same as Wacky, who must have had a couple of incidents again, because Wacky wasn't that far behind before, and he's now behind the leader. So he's now a lap down, unfortunately, Wacky there. He's not going to want to affect this battle for the lead as Nick is coming through. We said he's going to be within a couple of seconds, and He goes for it on the lapped car, but he's not going to be close enough to go for it on Rose's. But Rose's has got a penalty. That's terrible for Rose's. Nick's going to get ahead of him before the Porsche curves, I believe. And if Nick gets ahead of him before the Porsche curves, that's an absolute nightmare for Rose's, because that's where Nick is the slowest. So Nick will easily take the lead here. So it'll just come down to the last pit stops now, what people decide to do in this category. But it looks like it's Nick's race to lose from this point onwards. Here's Ray's saying it's all over. It's not all over. I know it's not as wet now, but we've seen Nick make enough mistakes in this race. I know they were all mostly because of the rain, but he's made enough mistakes that it's not definitely over. And Rosie's does manage to serve that penalty and stay ahead of him, which is what he needed to do. He couldn't afford to be behind him going through the Porsche curves, or he'd have lost a lot of time. As we'll see, Rosie's will pull away from Nick now then, but Nick will have him in no time when they get back to the straight. And Jibril is staying a fairly consistent distance behind. But no, there's an incident with Jibril and Jaeger there. How unfortunate. It was, I think Jibril maybe went for the move where he shouldn't have there. Very unfortunate though. It was hard to fully tell because both cars ended up in front of each other. But I think he should have waited. He got caught by traffic in a bad position, and instead of waiting, he tried to go round the outside, and unfortunately there was contact made, and that's going to put Clarkey back into the lead, and Jaeger's going to have to pit. So that's terrible for Jaeger's race there. Great for Clarkey's race, but absolutely terrible for Jaeger's. Yeah, he is settled in now, Ray, Nick, so he should fairly easy. We'll just go back because I think this is where he's going to pass him now on the straight. 6 seconds behind, joining the Mulsanne, and I reckon he's going to be past him fairly easily. Yeah, it was a terrible incident. Unfortunately, from that first view that we saw, you've got to put that on the overtaking car with Jibril there, I'm afraid. But it was hard to fully tell exactly what happened, because we only sort of saw it in the background a little bit. But I think because he was staying close, yes, he has apologised there. Probably once he's got onto the straight. Yeah, look at that. Nick's breezed past before they've even got to the second chicane on the straight. So this is Nick's race to lose now. And looking at the way these Group 1 cars are going, these are easily going to be able to put another set of softs on. So that's going to be in Nick's advantage, being able to put the softs on. So as Ray says, it's Nick's race now. To be honest, it could be a case of how far does he win this by, rather than does he win it. Roses should have a fairly comfortable second place at the moment, and he has got fairly consistent pace since it's got dry. So, and then Kingy will be looking to catch back up to Jibril and take a third place, but he has really struggled since it's gone to dry conditions. He was by far the fastest in the wet conditions, but he's not made the most of it, and he's suffering now the track's dried up. But he is gaining on Jibril now. DTR cars, unfortunately, in a lot of no man's land here. But he has pitted again, so maybe he'll come back into contention a little bit when the other Group 1 cars pit again. And then Wacky sort of in a bit of no man's land as well, same as Heatseeker. And then we've got Clarkey with a clear lead at the moment, but now over Matt Jam, who's got up into second place after that unfortunate incident for Jaeger, who was probably pitted. He has, but Matt Jam has not pitted again yet, and Jaeger's put the softs on, so maybe he can do something with those soft tyres. We'll wait and see. But I think that gap to Clarkey is just going to be too much. It's over 40 seconds. to catch in half an hour. That's going to be some ask from Jaeger there. So, but he should still be on for the second place here, Jaeger. And Wabbit has pitted again now. So Wabbit looks like he could be on for a good recovery here. He could be back up into a podium place by the end of this race. So good driving from Wabbit here. As Nicky has come into the pits, and so has Arden. So Nicky and Arden both having pitted now. So we'll see where Matt Jam comes out compared to the rest, because he is the only Group 3 car now not to have pitted. Nick got reset. Oh, I missed that, Ray. Where did he get reset? Did he cut over the chicanes at the end of the lap, through the 4 chicanes? But look at this, he's just going to storm past again. Look at the sparks flying there as he storms past. But he has got a half a second penalty to serve. And those tyres are looking pretty dead, so I'm guessing these Group 1 cars are going to start to come into the pits now. Because they should have enough fuel to get to the end of the race if they fuel up now. So I imagine they'll be coming in towards the end of this. Oh, just heard laughing in their party chat, was it? I'm presuming it was at the Ford chicanes. That's a place that people are known for getting reset on this track. Because if you mess the line up and you cut it and slow down, it'll still reset you. So unfortunate there with Bucky joining and then leaving, just created a bit of lag in the room. But the lobbies, to be honest, do seem a bit more stable now than what they used to be. Still not where they should be, but definitely much better. Yeah, I still think Nick will be favourite. He's obviously at the front now, and I'm presuming he'll come into the pits this lap. That right rear tyre is struggling. Whereas Rosie's tyres have got no issues whatsoever. So I imagine if I was Rosie's here, I would keep going on these tyres till you run out of fuel. Only put the fuel in that you need. So you look at the time he's losing behind Nick through the Porsche curves there. And I would make the most of fresher soft tyres at the end of the race if you can. But no, he's going to come into the pits now. I'm surprised by that. If I was Rosie's, I think I would have, because you're not going to beat Nick on straight out pace with the soft tyres here because of that straight line speed. So I would have thought it'd have been better to just stay out and have really fresh tyres towards the end of this race and hope to do something with them. But maybe he's going to accept that second place as Jibril does stay out. So Jibril is probably going to do that, run his fuel all the way down and then come into the pits. And let's see what Kingy is going to do now as he's coming past some traffic. But it looks like he gets past that traffic before the Porsche curves, which is what he would have wanted. But Kingy is now 49 seconds off Jibril. So Kingy must have had another incident, because he was much closer to Jibril than that before. So Kingy's chance of a podium. Oh no, Kingy has come into the pits, hasn't he? We've missed Kingy has pitted a lap earlier than everybody else. So that's why Kingy is so far off. But it'll tell now, has he, when Jibril comes into the pits, whether Kingy has got the undercut on him. Yeah, I just noticed that, Ray, as I was saying. So that explains why that gap was so big. And I think he's definitely closer to Nick and Rosie. So Rosie's obviously doesn't need as much fuel as Nick does. But obviously Nick's just going to power down that straight. So I don't think it'll be long before Nick's back past him. But obviously it is getting dark now. Very dark. So it's going to be much harder to see. So you never know, mistakes could still happen now, missed braking points with the dark, so don't rule anything out, but Nick is the one in control at the moment of this race. As DTR cars stuck in a little bit of no man's land. the same as Wacky and Heatseeker. And then Clarkey now got a clear lead in this race of 41 seconds over Jaeger, but it is coming down to Jaeger, who put the softs on rather than the mediums. So Jaeger is using them tyres, but as I said, I don't think it's, without Clarkey having a big accident, Jaeger's not going to be able to catch him here, I don't think. But he is gaining slowly. And Wabbit now back up into a podium place, so great for Wabbit after a poor start, but he's well off the back of Jaeger here, so first and second without any major errors should be pretty settled now in the Group 3 class, but third place could go to anyone. Look at that, we've got Wabbit, Nicky and Matt Jam, all RA drivers, all right behind one another. Be very, very interesting to see how they all do. And all very, very recently, in the last few months, promoted to the first team as well. So this will be a battle of the academy graduates to see who can come out on top for this final podium place here. So we'll definitely be keeping our eyes on this as the race goes on towards the end. I think we'll stay on board with Nicky for a little bit now then, to see. There's about a second gap between each of these cars. Yeah, they're doing great here, Ray. They're going to have a good little battle here. Be interesting to see who can win out. Any predictions on who we think's going to come out on top out of these three here? Who's going to get the final podium place? As Wabbit picks up a 1 second penalty, Nicky a half a second penalty, and Matt Jam a half a second penalty. So they're all going to close up even more when they get to the penalty zone, I think, here. And Nicky is going to go past on the Mulsanne straight with that Ford GT, which is an absolute flyer in a straight line for the Group 3 category. So Ray's going from Matt Jam there. Yeah, I think Nicky's going to struggle on tyres towards the end of this race, I think, and we've seen how sketchy that GT can be, even in the hands of VQS Jack, who we know is a very skilled driver. So if he struggles with them, then anybody is going to struggle with tyres on this car. So Nicky might get caught out towards the end of the lap as they're getting passed by Jibril now, but Jibril gets past them all cleanly, which is good for them. As Nicky has a moment, oh no, just as we were talking about struggling with that GTR, Nicky lets it go. And he's now at the back of that group and got the penalty to serve, and he's struggling to get going again now then. So hopefully Nicky can catch back up to those guys, but not a good moment, a bit of a jinx there, as me and Ray were just mentioning how sketchy that GTR can be, and Nicky just demonstrates that for us. Oh, Jibril says sorry then. It looked like Jibril was clearly past him, but maybe Jibril had a slide and Nicky had to avoid him. I don't quite know, but very unfortunate for Nicky if that was the case. Oh, hey John, how you doing? Yeah, so Wabbit's got a bigger penalty to serve than Matt Jam, so that's going to close them both up. Wabbit was playing it very clever early in the race, but so was Matt Jam with some of his driving, so it'll be very interesting to see who can get a podium here. Both had their issues in this race, but both had some really good moments in this race as well. But I think this is the battle for us to be on at the moment, as Jibril finally comes into the pits. So we'll see where he comes out in comparison to Kingy as later on, as Nicky's catching these two through the four chicanes. This is going to slow Nick down. He's going to get Matt Jam though. He gets to one of them, so that's good news for Wabbit. That's slowing Matt Jam down. And he's going to get Wabbit on the exit, I believe. And he does. He gets him before the Dunlop curve, which is what he would have wanted to do. So let's just go have a check on this Group 1 race now then. Let's stay on board with King Gears to see where Jibril comes out the pits in comparison. Because this was the battle for third place. I believe King Gears was about 15 seconds off Jibril when King Gears pitted. So let's see if that undercut, whether he's managed to gain. He's definitely gained, but it doesn't look like it's that big a gain as what King Gears would have wanted. And Jibril will have slightly fresher tyres now then. Yes, he's brought that gap down, but not by enough by the looks of it. And we've said that Peugeot does have a straight line speed advantage over the Porsche. So King Gears now will be trying to reel Jibril in, but Jibril will be wanting to get some nice clean laps in and just keep that gap to King Gears and possibly look at chasing down Roses. Only 7 seconds to Roses. Can Jibril chase down a second place here with fresher tyres? Let's see how the race goes on, but Nick has got a clear lead now. But that'll be the easiest car to miss a braking zone in and the most devastating accident if you do miss a braking zone as well. But he is going even faster now. And Ray was saying that she expected Nick to be doing 304s when he really got going. He's now doing 302s and he's still going purple on laps. So Nick is absolutely flying at the moment. So, as we said, without any major crash, Nick's got this one in the bag, no problem. So look at that, 1.2 seconds up on his fastest time now. It's going to be closest to whether Nick might be able to beat a 3-minute time in this car. The only problem he's going to get, his tyres get worse much quicker, but obviously his fuel load's going to get lighter, so see how that happens, but we'll just stay on board till the end of this lap now. As Clarkey decides to come into the pits again, must have thought he had a big enough gap, so he's going to put the softs on, I imagine. Yes, and he does. So we'll flick and see whether Clarkey still comes out in the lead, and even if he doesn't, I think he'll be favourite. Yeah, it's a 3-minute .3, so Nick is getting very close to breaking that 3-minute barrier now then. Let's just see where Clarkey is in comparison to Jaeger. Yeah, he's back out clearly ahead of Jaeger, so that's probably why Clarkey has decided to pit there. He's just took advantage of having such a big gap. He can have the fresh soft tyres to end this race, and now he's got no worries at all. So Clarkey should have a fairly comfortable win in the Group 3 category now. And to be honest, Jaeger could possibly afford to pit for a new set of softs if he wanted to, as he's got a fairly big gap behind. As we move on to Wabbit, who has pulled clear of Matt Jam, but he has got a 2-second penalty. So this was our little interesting battle has spread back out again now, but hopefully before the end these three guys will bunch back up together and give us an exciting race for the final podium spot. As Matt Jam goes for a bit of a slide there, but he holds it well. So let's see how Arden's doing now. Arden is miles back now, so something's gone terribly wrong for Arden towards the end of this race. Arden was doing very well in portions of this race, but it's unfortunately gone all wrong as Clarkey comes round to lap Arden now then. Looks like Arden has been into the pits again by the looks of it. Yeah, you did say flat rate, and he did. I mean, the way he's going, he'll be able to be quicker for the next couple of laps before them tyres die off, so he could even beat that time still. He probably will, Ray. He's probably thinking, I wish I'd just missed the start now instead. But he was doing fairly well in this race. It's just so many drivers in this one have had some really good moments and some really shocking moments. So shows in these longer races, it's all about being consistent as well. As we'll just go on board with Nick because he's just coming through the Porsche curves now. But he is down on his time. He might have 1 or 2 more laps where he'll stand a chance of improving his time, but it's going to be difficult. He only needs 3.5 temps to break that 3-minute barrier for the fastest lap. And he's got a massive gap to Roses now. We said it might be, we said a bit earlier on, it might be down to, oh, and look, he gained so much time through the 4 chicanes compared to his fastest lap. So he has got more in him, Nick. So he has got a 2-minute 59 in him. It's just whether he can do that lap. And knowing what Nick's like, Nick likes to drive flat out and he likes to do a bit of time trial. So it wouldn't shock me if Nick is going to try and beat that 3-minute lap time if he can. He has spun again. Oh, but something's happened with Roses here as well. Roses is now behind Jibril. So something has happened with Roses, as Roses does get back past Jibril now, as this is a bit awkward for Clarkey. He's right in that battle. They've got Arden, Clarkey, Jibril, all together there. Well navigated by all cars. Everybody stayed clean and kept it out of each other's way. So some great driving there. But we now have a battle in the Group 3 cars for 2nd place, which we weren't expecting. So there must have been an incident for Rosie somewhere along, or Jibril has been absolutely flying, one or the other. Ray says King Gears has spun again, so he's dropped right off. So King Gears, his chance at a podium might have gone now, when it looked like he was trying to chase down Jibril for the podium. He's now 35 seconds, 36 seconds off those podium places. So that could be King Gears done in this race, unfortunately. But we never know. Roses looks like he had an incident. King Gears has had an incident. Anything can still happen. There's still just under 15 minutes to go in this one. So you never know what could happen. DTR cars now then, he's been stuck in this no man's land in 5th for quite a while now. But Wacky has been lapped by, Wacky and King Gears have been lapped by all the other Group 1 cars now. Then I was going to say, Wacky's very close to DTR now, but he is a lap down by the looks of it. Yeah, King Gears is fairly comfortable P4 now. But as I said, if anything happens to those in front, he might capitalise. But if he does anything, DTR is a fairly big gap. But if he makes a big mistake, then DTR will be willing to take that 4th place off him, because DTR's been very consistent in this one. He's been in that 5th place for a long time, and I've not noticed him make any mistakes when we flicked to him, even though he was struggling earlier on in the rain. But since it's dried up, he seems to be doing really well. So Jibril now pulling away from Roses, it seems. So Jibril now coming into his own towards the end of this race. Looked like he'd have a chase on for 2nd, and he seems to have got 2nd fairly comfortably, and he's starting to run away now. But I think Roses will be trying to have something to say to that, trying to catch back up. He's that close that Jibril can't afford any sort of mistakes. Even a penalty could be enough to bring Roses back into contention here. So we do still have a fight on for 2nd place in the Group 1. But Nick has done a 2:59. We said he would be going for it, and he's half a second up as well. He's going for the 2:58. Nick is absolutely flying. He's got into his time trial mode here, Nick, for those of you that don't know, Nick is very, very fast on time trials. He knows how to put in fast laps when he needs them, so he's absolutely flying now, and he's got that time trial mindset on, but he won't want to make a mistake. He has got a fairly comfortable gap of 40 seconds to Jibril, but he won't want to make too big a mistake and lose that gap. So he just lost a bit of time getting past King Gears, past Heatseeker there, sorry. We move back to Jibril, and Rose is still battling away. Kingy is in a bit of no man's land, same as DTR cars, same as Wacky and same as Heatseeker. So 4th, 5th and 6th and 7th. No, DTR decides to come in for new tyres then. That's a strange decision. I know he's under no threat from behind, but I'd have thought you'd have just stayed out there in case Kingy is in front. Because now that allows Kingy, as if he wants to pit, but I doubt Kingy as will. Because obviously he needs to be there to capitalise on any mistakes in front. Oh, DTR saying he needs fuel. I don't know, it looks like it might last, but obviously you'll know from doing your practice whether it will, so unfortunately not quite had enough fuel. So DTR they're going to accept that 5th place to make sure he doesn't run out of fuel. So Clarkey, having pitted, that gap's massively come down at the lead, but he's still got a fairly comfortable lead over Jaeger, who's just about to come to lap Arden now then. So Arden does get out the way and let him by. So it looks like 1st and 2nd is sorted in the Group 3s, but there is still a battle, and we're back to a three-way battle for 3rd place again. Nicky, Matjam and Wabbit here giving us one hell of a race for this final podium position in the Group 3s. So we're going to stay on board with this for a bit, as they have got Arden in between them. Or is that a Group 1 car that's just passed? I think it's a Group 1 car that's just gone past them, isn't it? Yes, it is. So these 3 now, but Matjam's picked himself up a 2-second penalty, not what he needs. So he's going to drop off the back of this group after Arnage then. Yeah, maybe needed to pit a bit later in your earlier stint or something, DTR, but still going to be a good 5th place. You've been very consistent in this race, especially since the rain stopped. Could see you was really struggling in the rain. But the same as Nick. Nick was obviously really struggling in the rain as well. As Matjam all over the back of Nicky. But he's going to have to serve that 2-second penalty just as they come through Indianapolis and then pass Arnage, and then he'll have to serve that penalty. As Wabbit goes deep into the corner, that allows Nicky past. So Nicky is now up into 3rd place, and Matjam's got past him. So this is one hell of a battle between these 3 here. Anybody's guess at who could win this. We thought Nicky was out of it after he made a big mistake earlier on. His tyres, I'm guessing, are in... They are in the work. Matjam is on the mediums. Ah, didn't notice that. That's why Matjam looks a bit slower than these, and he's sort of clinging on to the back of them. But maybe the last lap or 2, that might be an advantage. I would say, looking at tyre life, Wabbit's got the advantage as Nicky goes off there. So no, Nicky's made too many mistakes. Oh, but Nicky's going to need fuel as well. So everything's gone all wrong for Nicky in this battle with that GT. Said it's an absolute handful, and a monster down the straight, but it drinks fuel as well. Yeah, so Nicky comes into the pits there, so unfortunately that's Nicky out of this 3rd place battle now. So it's between Matjam and Wabbit. So it all depends what Wabbit's tyres are like, just as Nick comes to pass them. Hopefully he'll get past them before the Dunlop curve, and he does just about. But he does slow Wabbit down as Wabbit gives him space to come by, and that allows Matt Jam through, and Wabbit does have a penalty, but Matt Jam goes deep, struggling to get it stopped on their medium tyres. So we've got one hell of a battle going on here between Matt Jam and Wabbit. Wabbit on the soft tyres, so he does have the tyre advantage with Matt Jam on the mediums, but obviously Matt Jam's tyre wear being on the mediums is much, much better as Matt Jam goes off now. They're now having a battle to see who can make the most mistakes in this one for this third place. Neither of them want it. They're trying to give each other this third place. Neither of them want to take the third place for themselves. As Wabbit gets a poor exit, so Matt Jam is back past him. Yeah, they are. It's a shame that Nicky's had to go in the pits and made them mistakes. But Wabbit's dropping off down the straight here. I don't know what's going on with Wabbit. I would have thought in the slipstream he'd be able to keep up, even if that Jag isn't as good down the straights. And he's dropping off by quite a lot now. Wow, that Supra is much quicker in the straights. So Wabbit will have to close. Maybe that's why we keep seeing these gaps open and close and open and close. The Jag and the Supra are very different cars for where they get their pace from as well. So hopefully Wabbit closes back up through the Porsche curves and stuff then, and we can have a good little battle going on here. Oh, he's got to save fuel as well, has he? So Matt Jam might have pulled the tactical battle off out of these three then, but it's been one hell of a battle for this podium position in this last half an hour of the race. Let's just jump back to the Group 2 cars now and see what's going on, as Nick has now got a 55-second lead. He's not managed to improve that fastest lap, and his times are coming down now, and he's looking fairly low on fuel as well. Possibly 2 more laps worth of fuel, which, looking at the timer, will be enough to get him to the end of the race, but he's got plenty of time to splash and dash anyway. He's got 56-second lead, so if he's unsure about fuel, he can easily just jump in the pits and put a little bit more in and play it safe. But he does jump past the pits, so he must be confident on fuel now then. As Jibril Roses is gaining back up on Jibril by the looks of it. So a race still on now then between Jibril and Roses, but Jibril has got the advantage. It's a lot of time for Roses to pull back in what will be just 2 laps left to go, I believe. But he is bringing that gap down. It'll only take one badly placed car for traffic, or something like that, or one little mistake from Jibril, and Roses could be all over the back of him again. As King Gears now in absolutely no man's land in 4th place. But King Gears might be having to fuel save. But King Gears has got plenty of gap now to come into the pits anyway and do a splash and dash if he needs. DTR car obviously put plenty of fuel in, so he's got no worry to get to the end. Should have a comfortable 5th as he goes between Arden and Jaeger there. And then Wacky should have a comfortable 6th place and Heatseeker 7th. Then we've got Clarkey with pulling out a bigger lead now in the Group 3. So Clarkey's got a comfortable win in the Group 3, but he looks like he might be struggling on fuel now. So maybe Clarkey did come in and change tyres when he had a big gap at the front, and maybe he didn't put any extra fuel in and he's not put enough in, so it'll be close to see, because he's going to have to go around. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's going to get to the checkered flag before, I think. He's going to hit 1 hour 30 before he gets to the line. And even if he does, it's going to hit 1 hour 30 before Jaeger gets to the line. So Clarkie's got no problems here. Clarkie's got this race won. Jaeger should have a comfortable second place here. And Matt Jam now has pulled away from Wabbit. So Matt Jam's got a comfortable third now. And I think maybe Wabbit got it wrong. Maybe Wabbit didn't need to save. Maybe he could have just gone flat out. Yeah, I think it will be for the Group 3 cars. I don't think they're going to make it to the line in time, looking at where he was on the track. So let's see the front Group 3 cars. Actually, it's going to be last lap for them as well. I thought they would make it for another lap, but they haven't. So Nicky's going to be our first one to cross the line. So this is good timing though, because it means other than the lapped cars, everyone's going to finish on the same lap, other than those that have been lapped. So here comes Nick to win the race by a full minute here. So we said how much time would he win it by, so a comfortable win in the end for Nick. Fantastic drive after struggling in the wet. So Nick crosses the line first, and Clarkie crosses the line, sorry, for the GT3s first. So I think, who's next to come up to the line? It's the Group 3s are next to come up to the line, as 5th, 6th and 7th in the Group 1s come to the line. So here's Jaeger coming for second place. So fantastic drive for second place. And then Matt Jam in position to take third in the Group 3 cars now then. But Roses and Jibril are ahead of Matt Jam here by the looks of it. So Jibril is going to be our next driver to cross the line, I believe. But there is a car going really slow. It's Arden. So has Arden ran out of fuel then maybe? So Jibril crosses the line for a fantastic second place there. Unbelievable drive from Jibril. As Roses goes to see what Arden's doing. And Roses is going to take home a third place. He's going to mess it up. What's he doing? But he does take home a third place. So he's Matt Jam or King Gear's next to cross the line. It's Matt Jam in it. I believe will be next to cross the line. Yes, it is. As Matt Jam crosses the line there. So Matt Jam taking home a podium place in the Group 3s. Fantastic drive from Matt Jam there. And well predicted from Ray. Earlier on, Ray said that she thought Matt Jam had the advantage. As Wabbit comes home in 4th for the Group 3s. Little Nicky in 5th. As King Ears goes past him for 4th place. And then Arden is going to come across the line now at the end, is he? Everybody else has finished, Arden. You can cross the line now, mate, if that's what you wanted to do. Cross the line last. And there we go, Arden crosses the line as well. Absolutely fantastic race there. Nick making the most of that car once it dried up after really struggling. But fantastic drive from Jibril as well. For me, Group 1 driver of the day, I would probably give to Jibril. Very close between him and Nick, but I think Nick, we know Nick can do that. I'm not as familiar with Jibril, so that was fantastic driving from Jibril there. And a few times it looked like he wouldn't have been in a podium place, and instead he's got himself back up to second place, so absolutely fantastic there from Jibril. And for Group 3s, I'm probably going to give driver of the day to Matt Jam on that one. You know, because I think Matt Jam, Wabbit and Nicky had a fantastic race there for third place. And Matt Jam came out on top, so fantastic there. Yeah, Ray saying well done, Nick, and well done, Clarkie. Yeah, well done for winning, Nick and Clarkie. That was a great race. Yeah, DTR, I mean, you were so consistent once it dried up. I mean, unfortunately, you weren't ever gaining, but you looked comfortable in 5th place the whole time. But maybe more incidents ahead of you. Something could have come from it, but obviously you drove really well, especially once the track dried up. Yeah, Jason did a great job in the Peugeot. what first time you were right with picking who was going to win. So yeah, absolutely fantastic from Matt Jam there. Well deserved podium place. Shame for Nicky and Rabbit because those three had one hell of a battle. Shame that they couldn't keep that battle going right to when they crossed the line. But they must have been really close together for most of that final 35, 40 minutes of the race there, within sort of 5 seconds of each other as a free. So fantastic racing to see there. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. But I'm going to tune out now that the race is over. Fantastic race. Glad everyone could take part, and I hope those watching enjoyed watching. So we'll see you for the next one. See you later. Goodbye.